Okay,
This
we are
this is
now
Tattoo
good to
Business.
go.
Okay, awesome. Tattoo Business Talks, episode what, 21?
22.
22. 22. Episode 22, April 22nd. All right. Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. Always appreciate you guys showing up on a Tuesday morning. Um, and I see drawings in the mix on some people and setting up for others as they get their day started. Um, Awesome. I know with this smaller group right now, what we haven't done, but we do in other groups is kind of do an introduction. And I'd like to maybe go around the room and just do an introduction where you're from. And I'm gonna give it a question of the day today as well for everybody. So I'm gonna put you on the line here, even if your face is not showing. We're still gonna call your name. Um, if you were to break one bad habit in the morning, what would it be? And if you were to add one good habit into your morning right now, what would that be? I'm Derek. Um, I'm in the Seattle area, and I think the bad habit would be jumping to coffee first thing in the morning, and good habit to jump into is jump into my electrolyte water before that coffee most mornings. So yeah, that would be my transition. New York, you're next. I'm calling on people.
My name is New York. I'm also in the Seattle area. And I think one swap I would like to do in my morning routine is instead of opening the door to let my dog out, actually taking my dog for a walk. I think would be a good one.
Hmm. This is the season. New York calling somebody. We're gonna play that game.
All right, Rufus.
All right. My name is Rufus. I'm from Milford, New Hampshire. Um, so I actually just kind of kicked one bad habit that I would have definitely used, which was vaping as soon as my alarm goes off. But I haven't been vaping for 2 weeks now, so almost 2 weeks, I think. Um,
Nice
so I
work.
guess my other thing at this point would be not to pick my phone up right away and have my cup of coffee and all that kind of stuff, and maybe give it an hour before I pick it up and be more productive.
Rufus calling somebody.
Mhm.
All right, James.
Hello, thanks, Rufus. I'm James, and I tattoo in Indianapolis. Uh, so I think that I would sort of, just recapitulate what everyone else has said. But yeah, probably like avoiding, you know, um, the addictive sort of pattern, right? Just sort of falling into like, your regular addictions. Uh, But yeah, if you could just wake up, right? Get the sunshine, maybe like pray or something, right? And then start the coffee, cigarettes, and all the rest. And the drawing, right? The drawing. It's like, more drawing. So thanks. I'm gonna call on Gabe.
East Hampton, Massachusetts. I did read that Stackable Habit book or the Habit book, and actually so that's both good and bad, right? So the good is I've started stacking my morning habits, and I'm now posting up every morning before I go on my walk. Some posts, or I schedule posts for the conventions that I'm going to be working, which is great because they're fucking badass tattoos from all over the world. And it's stupid that I don't every day post up that content. And so now I've got more of that coming. Of course, I was telling my wife that I was starting to stack my habits, and so after I was posting up the pretty pictures, I was going trolling for fucking politics, and that leads me to my bad habit of disrupting my wife in the morning. Seemingly after 22 years, I still 2 or 3 days a week disrupt her by accident. Not, but I shouldn't be by accident because we've been doing this long. I know I'm not supposed to tell her I'm trolling for politics online first thing in the morning before she's had her coffee. So anyways, main point is adding
Yeah.
more posting and disrupting wife less before her coffee.
Thanks, Gabe.
Can I call on Caroline?
Okay. I'm Caroline. I'm here in New Jersey. One bad habit is sleeping in. That happens because I have Hashimoto's. But I wake up and I start doing hand and feet exercises and I'm breathing into them. So then I just nod back out. So I would have to shift those to when I'm actually on my yoga mat and doing my physical therapy. So those are my two. And then I'm gonna call on Mickey.
You're muted, Mickey.
How about now? All right. I'm Mickey in Missoula, Montana. And if I had to add something, well, a thing that I have been getting ready to add back into my morning routine is morning yoga and stretching. And yeah, I would immediately get up and get right back to it instead of doom scrolling for an hour if I had to give something up. And I'm going to call on, let me see this list. Everybody I know, I think went. I'm going to go ahead and call on Amanda.
Hi. I just had a massage, so I'm like oily. I've been saying I'm gonna like not sleep in. I always hit the snooze till the very last minute. And then I don't know, it might be nice to like try the gym in the morning or exercise in the morning, but I've been saying that forever too. So I don't know. Oh, and I tattoo in Utah. So
So, thanks, Amanda. Don't forget to call on somebody, or I will.
oh
Kenny doesn't have his gloves on yet. Get him before his gloves go on.
Kenny.
Hi guys, my name's Kenny Hill. I tattoo in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, so I've already been trying to implement waiting as long as I can before I start drinking coffee. So I don't drink coffee until about 12:30 now. And I get up and I chug some water. But I do like what James said about the kind of like the meditation. That'd be good in the morning. And also some stretching. I heard that does sound really good. I'm gonna have to try that out. Thank you guys.
Awesome. I'm gonna call on Robert.
Hey, yeah, I'm Robert. I'm in Olympia, Washington. Pretty similar to some others. Bad habit is as soon as I get out of bed, cigarette. And I mean, if I'm gonna be outside, I could replace that with just going for a walk around my yard. I've got enough yard to walk around. So, and the weather's been nice. It'd be good to go out and wander.
Awesome.
Mitch.
Mitch jumped in a little late here. Hey, Mitch, we're just kind of doing introductions, where you're from. And the question of the day is, if you were to choose one bad habit you break in the morning, what would it be? And if you were to replace it with one good habit in the morning, what would that be?
One sec here. I would probably my wife and I tend to sit in bed for a long time and try to get things done in bed, but that usually just I don't know, it feels like it's usually a rough start to things. So I would just getting out of bed and like going for a walk, taking the dog for a walk earlier, and then getting the outdoor stuff in, like getting the outside energies in your system to like boost your productivity to come back in and start the day. So think that would, and doing yoga in the morning. We've done it a couple times and it's been really nice. And I'd like to continue to get a good habit of doing that. So, yeah.
So thanks, Mitch. Amber.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm from Connecticut. I think one of my bad habits I have right now is showing up to work like right on time. Um, and I think I'd like to kind of replace that with just getting in a little earlier, maybe answering the emails during that time if I don't need it to do anything extra there. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I
Camden.
don't, yeah.
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry. I thought you were done.
Hello, my name is Camden. I work in Olympia, Washington. Something I could probably stop doing less in the morning is, like Robert said, smoking nicotine, and I do like my wake and bake, so probably stop doing that more and find a healthier solution. But yeah.
And Zoom user. We don't know your name. All right. Well, they're here observing today, so we're just going to move on. Awesome. Thank you for that. I was noticing kind of common theme here about movement and stretching, hydration, lacking cigarettes and scrolling. These are all positive things that we can definitely kick out of our morning routine and probably all better for it. The movement and the stretching and the hydration, of course, I think that just ties in so well, especially for being an artist. We're going to be spending our days sitting. Gabe, same as you. You're going to be spending your days sitting, and over time and doing these things for years on end, it ends up wrecking our body. Without those movements and without taking those proper breaks in between, tattooing. One thing I have realized, especially in the last couple years, is that tattooing isn't really what hurts us, or sitting on our ass all day isn't really what hurts us. It's the body we bring to sitting on our ass all day that's hurting us. I hope that kind of makes sense with people. So what I'm saying is that movement matters. Being able to kind of bring the best version of you before sitting, or to find yourself in that space during the day to just take the break and stand up and do counter poses would be ideal. Don't be my age and having every chiropractor on call. I know most of us probably do have chiropractors and massage therapists, as Amanda was already in massage therapy today. There are other avenues that we can explore with that. And I do want to have future talks in the next, 2 to 3 months or so on ergonomics. So we will be having a talk about that at some point and kind of dive deeper into it. So this is about your longevity. That being said, on to other subjects right now. Gabe, I know you received an email from me yesterday about the dates on the book club. Were you able to get? Yeah, I did send it. It's in your inbox. You don't have to send it right now, but Gabe does have dates that will be sent out on this. Amanda, you have a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's gonna bring you back to that same topic, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
found a massage therapist I can barter with, which is kind of fucking cool.
Here's to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I'm sure most of us can relate with that one as well. I had a chiropractor and a massage therapist on trade for a while there. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so the book club, you should have got that. Will be in your inbox at some point today as well. Looking forward to the meeting in a couple weeks. I did lock down conversations this coming month. We will be having Good Judy, the owners of Good Judy, coming and talking, especially about not just the importance of eco-friendly supply, but really helping you understand about the greenwashing that's going on in our industry as well. There are a lot of so-called eco-friendly products out there that are really missing the buck on this one. So um, they're definitely, I think, the most trusted source when it comes to this. And after hearing them talk for an hour, you'll understand why. So I'm looking forward to having them, hosting them. My marketing gentleman, Stefan, will be joining us on a call in a couple weeks as well, discussing marketing angles with you guys online, especially when it comes to advertisement, Google ads, Facebook ads, and to understand the pitfalls and any red flags out there when you're working with other third parties on this one too, so you're not feeling like you're being taken advantage of. Stefan has a lot of great detail and has a really nice canned speech that he already uses. So I was just looking at the PowerPoint presentation this morning, and I'm really excited about having him as well. I also have on call next month an insurance agent out of Portland, Oregon. They only deal with the tattoo industry with their insurances, and they're going to be covering topics on, liabilities, general insurance, and likewise. So if you have any Q&A for them, actually for anybody, feel free to, get your questions together in the next
Do
month.
they do
And-
insurance nationally or?
Yes, yeah.
They do.
So they're a national insurance coverage. Kim, the owner of the company, absolutely wonderful. They've been my favorite so far that I've worked with.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Great.
yeah, very professional, very, very professional. So you're aware of Kim. Okay.
Yeah, she's only tattoo shops for a long time now.
Yeah. So Kim's one to come and talk about insurances as well. Today I was kind of loose. I didn't really make a huge preparation for this one. I can go off of a conversation I had with my general manager earlier, which is about pricing, cost pricing when it comes to the tariffs right now was our conversation in coalition this morning, on how that approach is happening, because we were sharing multiple people's posts, about some people are kind of going into this panic buying mode right now. We're even seeing it with some of our customers with coalition, are tripling their supply orders right now, rightfully so, get it before the tariffs kick in. There was that conversation, and then we are seeing some people that are really starting to increase their shop minimums and their hourly rates as well. But there were some concerns and red flags that came up for us during that conversation as well. So we can discuss that if they may help. If anybody's kind of on the fence right now on where they land with this uncertain economy and the tariffs going forward, I think I can supply some great details for you and help you along. Unless somebody else has something more pressing. Does anybody have any big issues right now they'd rather tackle today?
The only thing that comes to mind for me is how to get your artists to be above board and play the game. How to get them to get UBIs and really start paying their taxes and, get their shit together. It's a hard conversation to have, and a lot of people don't want to do it. And I don't know how to approach it with my crew right now.
Ooh, yeah, embracing the suck.
Can I, is
of
there,
doing it,
what's
please.
the catalyst for the change? Are you getting pressured by the state, or do you know that you just need to do it?
I'm making the change myself, and
Yep.
so I'm feeling a little bit of pressure from the state for anybody around me to do it as well.
To do it right? Yeah. I had to shift over to employees. So I had a group of independent contractors, and then when we made the shift, the advice that I would have is mostly try to always frame whatever responsibilities they're having to pick up with like some benefits. And again, part of it's like, so you're just really clarifying that they are actual independent contractors, so they have to pick up some more responsibility. To your point, they have to get legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to make sure that you're, for one, just like, look, this is what it takes to be legal, and or this is what it's going to take to work here. and then recognizing that you might just lose 20%, right? You know, because it's shifting, right? And when we did it because we were pressured by the state. We had to legally. We had no choice. After $15,000 in lawyer fees, we were hiring honor artists, right? Whether anyone liked it or not. But then it becomes a recruiting mechanism, right? So like a year and a half from now, when this is the way that it, you know, like when you have the way that it is, you know, all incoming people from there on out are hopefully attracted to that, if not at least agreeing to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes bridging the gap, you know, sometimes it's rough being, you know, trying to be as compassionate, as flexible as you possibly can be in the face of someone who's like taking advantage of, you know, a previous situation. The only other thing I'll say is that one of the things it was really a pet peeve to hear. I don't manage people anymore, but like when someone's like, you know, you can't change the job on me. Like, you know, that's not the same way that it was when you hired me. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, the world's different. I don't know what to tell you. Like the world's different 5 years now. If you didn't fucking notice, you know, and what you could trust is that we're making these changes for the benefit of everybody so that we can do this, you could do that. These are the reasons why. But we have to kind of do it, you know, because to move forward, to reduce confusion, to make sure that we're, you know, whatever it is, you know, these are the changes that we're making. And we had to let people go because they did not want to get their licenses, or we stopped them from tattooing because they didn't have their license. And then a week later, they had their shit together and they got the license and they grumbled about it, you know.
Yeah, go ahead, Mickey.
I was going to say I'm going slightly after hearing and witnessing everybody else's experiences. I'm going a slightly different way from that, and it has triggered a change in staff, definitely. But I don't want to have any responsibility for them. So, yeah, I'm happy to pass clients to them through the shop if that's what happens. But they have to be set up professionally in a way that I can assume that the client's going to be treated right and nothing's ever going to come back to me, and there's no honor system to rely on. You handle your money, pay me my rent, and you know, to get in the door, you have to have all your shit set up right.
I think that's great for independent contractors. And I think that should be across the board, 100%, Mickey, with shops. You know, we don't want to sit here and be a parent to them, but there are mandatory requirements and every single state has them, you know, and this is something that could, without having this in place and without artists showing up the way they're supposed to be showing up, if they want to be independent contractors, you know, it could really bite you in the ass, you know. And Gabe, I know you have a whole story around this, you know, I know other people do as well. And it's like, you know, there are state requirements here. So, you know, there are no non-negotiables when it comes to working in a shop. If you are a shop owner, you're on the lease and you have independent contractors in the mix, you know, rather than, you know, wearing that dictator leadership hat saying, hey, you got to get this done. It's got to be done by tomorrow. You know, I would best approach this saying, you know, these do need to be done. This is the importance and the why. And when do you expect to have this done? Once they can give you a date saying, I will be keeping you accountable on that one, you know, and letting them be in charge of it, because believe me, they'll start to lose sleep over it on their own level, you know, getting them out of this is how I've been doing it for so long. I get it. They have to understand the protection that they are receiving as well as you are receiving with this. It's win-win for both in having this happen. They want to run their own businesses. Well, these are just the standards of running your own business. It doesn't matter. We all have to play the game. You want to be a small business owner, you have to play the game of getting on the state website, setting up an LLC, if that's your gig, getting your insurances dialed in, you know, paying your taxes. There is no substitute to these things. It's just a matter of, you want to get them to buy in, ask them for the date when it'll be done.
You just completely triggered me.
And give them the checklist to do it. So that's the best leadership you can do, is saying, hey, you have the checklist. I understand it's difficult. I understand it's a lot of work, but you only have to do this once. once it's there, it's done, the foundation is set. You know, you're just going back and paying your state filing fees every year, or telling your accountant, this is where I'm at, or whatever. It's like, it's not much work. It's just the beginning stuff. Um, so that's a part of like leadership. If that was, you know, a case here in coalition, especially things that are mandatory with our human resources, there is no negotiation. Like, I always ask the question, how long will it take you to get this done? They come back and say 2 weeks. Cool. Let's put it on the calendar. You got 2 weeks to get it done. There are no excuses after that. You know,
Can
so
I ask a
yeah,
sorry,
please.
can I ask a question about that? So I don't know if it's different state to state, but that is something I've been wondering a little bit about, having an artist that doesn't have that shit together, you know, but is operating, you know, as a independent contractor. What responsibility like does the shop owner have in that situation? Like, what liability does the shop take on in that situation? Like, is that a risky ththing to have as a business?
It's very
Really?
risky to, if you are a shop owner not situated for having independent contractors underneath your roof and set up accordingly, running their own businesses, you can be mistaken as having employees. And once you're mistaken as having employees, you know, you run all the risk. You run all the
It's
risk
not even
of
mistaken, right?
what's that?
It's not even mistaken, right? Like if they're
Uh,
answering if they, you know, if you're answering the phones, or you have a manager answering the phones, or if the manager's taking the money, you know, if, you know, they don't have their own insurance, you know, then they are employees, right? Like, you know,
Well, if they're
for
handling
me,
their own
they
money.
got me for the taxes. They didn't get, you
Mm.
know, they got me as a shop owner for 3 years of taxes. You know, they didn't get 12 motherfuckers, but they got 3.
got 3. It's a lot. It's a lot of money.
And the lawyers got 15 fucking large motherfuckers. But, you know, it really is in Connecticut. So again, there's 2 things. One is it legal in Connecticut to run independent contractors as opposed to employees? And then if it is, are you fulfilling the requirements of independent contractors? Yeah. But they'll sue you. I mean, they'll generally try to sue the people with the money, but the shop owner is the one where it's like, you know, or at least workman's comp sues the studio owner.
Mhm.
So if you're really curious about this, you want to know for your state, because every state is different, of course, you can just go onto your state website and just type in independent contractor versus employee test or points or something to that effect, and it'll give you that. Usually it's like I know in Washington we have a 6-point test. So as long as everything is checking the boxes on the 6 points of them being an independent contractor, you're good to go. For the federal government, it's a 20-point test. So you want to look at the feds as well, and they have a 20-point checklist as well for the feds, that differentiates between an employee and an independent contractor. Just fulfill those needs. And most of those needs, what I'm seeing across the board on multiple states that I've looked at, is, you know, having your own business, which is like having your own LLC, having your state business registry number as well, which is labeled differently in every single state. And the fact of how the money is handled, how your scheduling is handled, you know, everything that all really ties into independent contractor. You supplying anything for an independent contractor can be skewed as being an employee.
Yeah.
And not having the right contracts in place too can really raise some red flags
You know,
on a state level.
One thing that I'll add, I mean, one question that I often ask tattooers or shop owners is like, are you sure you want to run a ship? You know, like a lot of shop owners just kind of default into independent contractor, you know, renter agreements. Kind of that's the way that it was. You know, there's part of being a shop that a lot of it just has to do with teamwork, right? And kind of the intention of the shops. So I mean, I always just challenge them, like, are you sure you even want to have a shop full of independent contractors, of people who don't have to go to meetings, don't have to give a fuck about who you are, what you're like can make up their own hours, don't have to answer their phone, can deliver a different client experience. You know, I guess I know that it's easier and that's the way that it's been done. I just have to say, like, when we did shift over to, you know, employees, right? Like taxes were taken care of. We did have to raise our rates $25 an hour to adjust accordingly. But then we actually had a group of like 8 people that showed up to shop meetings excited, because we had made the transition and we could do that. We actually could control the experience of the front, right? Somebody walked through the front door or called, the shop could take care of it, make sure that it's a best in class experience. The tattooer just had to do their shit, right? I mean, I guess mostly I just want to make sure too that people are, I don't know, thinking about it too. I mean, I guess it's a lot easier just to run independent. If it's legal, then it's easier to run independent contractors, but then everyone's complaining one way or another that either the artists aren't quite doing, the minimum of a shop, and then the shop's demanding too many things that they can. Anyways, I yield the floor. Sorry about that. I fell apart at the end, but my point stands.
Well, I like
Yeah,
to circle
thank
back.
you.
I like to circle back to New York's, question on this. New York, have you had the artists schedule time to get this stuff done? Have they looked at the checklist that have been sent over?
I don't think they've looked at the checklist. And I'm not quite sure. I feel like there's varying degrees of interest in any of it. I feel like there's, some that don't want anything to do with it, don't want to start paying taxes, don't want to do any of that. And there are others that want that and just don't know what to do. And like that I can work through and that I can handle. But if they're just unwilling, it's a hard conversation that I'm just not really sure how to go about.
Almost the easier conversation, right? I mean,
So every small business, even within your business, if they're not failed to pay taxes and they've did to do that, that's on them. That's their business. But when it comes to the state requirements of having, like in your case, Washington, them having their own UBI number, them having, an attached EIN number to their business, these are mandatory. These are things that will pass a 6-point test that you have to do. If you, I
So
want to
you're
have more
saying
discussion with
from the
you on the
kickbox?
side. I'm sorry, come again?
Are you basically telling me like, tell them to do this or kick rocks, right?
No, not kick rocks. I'm just saying but this is like,
not the place for you.
Mm.
no, and it's not your style either. I don't you ever can tell someone to kick rock. Well, maybe you're out from the East Coast, you might. But
That's a polite way to do it. Yeah.
I
It's a
mean, you
polite
kinda,
way.
sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt that.
So the tax thing, I can understand. I mean, a lot of artists, they can get all this stuff set, but they don't want to do the whole tax thing. That's fine. That's on them. That's not your responsibility ultimately, and that wouldn't affect you either. But the other ones that would affect you, especially in the state of Washington, will be them not having their business identifier number, and them not having, those, I think that proper insurance
I'm
that's
not so
tied to it.
sure. If there's a tattooer that doesn't want to register their tax ID number and is working under your shop, even if you're paying taxes for them, like, I guess
No,
that's
that
still
we have
a liability for the studio, no?
well, we have a 6-point test here in Washington State, and
Yeah.
it requires that it's in black and white.
Yeah. And
on
if
a-
an artist doesn't fulfill those requirements,
then they could
then
be
the-
considered, then the state could look at them as an employee.
right. So if New York's got 2 artists that are like, no, I'm not going to get a tax ID number, then I mean, at least in my studio, it was, yeah, you had to leave. They had to leave. Like, I mean, again, we need to keep you legal. And you're actually kind of reminding me. I went through 2 phases. I did go through the first phase of complete pirate ship to now you actually have to fulfill the requirements of being an independent contractor, which was not legal in Massachusetts. So 5 years later, when that got challenged, everyone had to come on as employees. But I mean, part of the change is like if like what are they doing and like what is the alternative, right? If somebody doesn't want to play ball, like I mean, as a shop owner, again, I think it becomes a lesson to the shop owner that's like, make sure I'm recruiting on, the opposite of this, right? So if they don't want to get a tax ID number or be again, for me, it's like, grow the fuck up too. Like if you want to be an independent contractor, you have to fulfill the requirements of being an independent contractor. Like this is a real world. We're over 18. You're making real fucking money. Like, register, right? But if you don't, then I mean, I guess I don't know what the alternative is other than, this isn't the right place for you. I think I've got some friends that have a pirate ship down the street or something. I don't know.
I think really what everyone's really pointing at, and I'm going to disagree with Derek just a little bit. I don't think it's so simple for just okay, it is simple, but I don't know if it's achievable for all. So I think what we're all basically saying is that like n most people shouldn't be independent contractors. Most people shouldn't own their own business. They should be employed. They should like you should take care of them so they would, they can focus on the labor of doing the tattoos and stuff. And this whole, like shifting the burden to the artist as, the independent contractors is just grift. It's been long-term grift. And I don't know. I think it's I think that we're I think that like putting that burden on unskilled labor of like, of actually trying to like run the business is I don't think it's ethical. Right. Maybe if there were more bridges, more roads to like financial literacy, right? If we were able to communicate more effectively about how to do these things, I know that a lot of it's going to like boil down to habit and discipline and the like. But there are other factors, right? There are material conditions, right? There just are, and sort of to saddle everybody with all the game that we're just calling it's the game, right? It's like I don't know if I don't know if everybody's a player at the same level. I guess, maybe it's more, if you want to use that metaphor, take it all the way. Maybe there are coaches, maybe there are, trainers and the like, right? But I don't know. I guess I'm doubtful that people can like rise to the the demands. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's a variety of types of artists, right? Like there's definitely artists that could take care of, I mean, and when we had our guest artists, we had 100 guests a year come through, right? We saw everybody. Some of them just were not done at the end with their day until they emailed their client the photo, right? So it might be 11 o'clock at night, but part of their end routine, like they wouldn't, and other people, no matter how much you hassled them or how, like they would never take a photo to send to their client ever, right? So like some artists like revel in the self-reliance of being able to do everything they want, and then some artists, to your point, and are like, can you just like take care of all that bullshit? I don't want to. Like I don't want to be a marketing agent and a fucking manager and a coach and a organized machine. I just want a tattoo. But again, part of there's a lot of different types of artists, right? So some are, some aren't, and finding a shop that is structured in a manner that is matching with tattooers work habits or structure is kind of one of the keys. So if nobody knows what they really want, then it's hard to, anyways, that's kind of my thought on it.
So everybody that works at the grocery store that stocks the shelves, they should be independent contractor, right? Like they should handle their own taxes and, like they should charge a commission on stocking. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like this is absurd. I don't know. I'm sorry.
There's one part of this I do agree with. I mean, I'd love to see I honestly, I would love to see a lot of people become employees. So that way there is stuff like employee benefits,
Right.
retirement accounts,
Sure.
only paying half the taxes of, of what you're making and stuff like that too would be wonderful. But that's not really the case. The baseline for tattooing, and it has been going for decades now, has been the independent contractor status. The unfortunate with this is like, you're right with this, James, is that there hasn't been really much financial literacy or people coaching on it, and these conversations really only come up either in individual shops where a lot of people just don't really understand or know, or in conversations like we're having right now in doing this, but going down this rabbit hole of understanding the differences between employee and independent contractor in an individual state is that, if you are a shop owner, you are on the lease and you're not falling in lines with the state requirements of these two, you can be resulting in a lot of money owed. So ultimately it comes down to like, who's taking the biggest risk here? And in my views now, looking at this, the one taking the biggest risk is the shop owner themselves. If they're not running through the test on the state as what the contractors actually required. Let me give you some example in this. Washington State we have 6-point test here. If you don't fill these 6-point tests, you can be considered an employee, and you're responsible for all those back taxes that are owed. And number one, you got to be free from the control of direction. You set up your times and your scheduling and everything else. Number two, you must pass one of the following 3 options. Is the service is outside the usual course of business? Number 2, the service
That
is
one there
performed.
is key. That's
Yeah.
the one they nailed me on, right? I'm like, they're like, they look like tattooers to me. And I'm like, no, I'm a marketing guy. I have, lots of places, lots of guests. They're like, I go to Off the Map Tattoo. It's a tattoo shop. They're tattooers. They're employees.
Yeah, but they're just looking at the black and white of this. They don't care about the shades of gray or the roundabouts that we throw at them. They're just going by the law here. So, number 2, the service is performed outside the places of business. Number 3, the individual is responsible for the cost of the principal place of business from which the service is performed. So that's just number 2 in the test. Number 3, must pass one of the following 2 options. Is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, profession, or business of the same nature as that involved in the contract of service, or has a principal place of business that is eligible for business deduction for IRS purposes. Number 4, the individual is responsible for filing a schedule of expenses with the IRS. So that's about 90% of the tattoo industry in Washington State. Just off these first 4 are not in alignment. Every shop owner, 90% of the shops here in Washington State, the shop owners are responsible. That's painful to see. It's hard. It's a difficult conversation to have. Yes, it takes work, but the state could come knocking on the door. And there's others. The individual is maintaining a separate set of books or records that reflect all items of income and expenses. They have to do this. We have to do this. So I don't know. There's a lot of concern. And most states are in accordance with this as well. It's something to look into for your state so you understand, in doing this. I want to have more conversation. Caroline, do you have a question?
I didn't have a question, but a statement. Like, I'm here in New Jersey, and this crop of artist that I had just brought in, my accountant had told me that in this eyes of the state that they are considered employees because we only have an ABC test, and we'd fail on A and B and pass on C. So, and the one that you had said too, like the service has to vary greatly from what is already offered by the business to then say that they're an independent contractor. So because tattooing is tattooing, and the business offers tattooing, then the individual who's doing the tattooing within the business is an employee. So, and then I also was like looking up, like, okay, so now I have employees, so I could do like, health, health insurance and retirement and blah, 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 blah. Some of that shit is so stupid expensive that it makes it completely unattainable. And that I'm like, why is that? It just seems exploitative and just wrong, And it's like, so I've been trying to like research and trying to find things that I can offer these benefits, but not bankrupting the business to make it happen.
Yeah, it is an expensive startup. Yeah, it's not easy by any means, and there's going to be a cost incurred if you're going to be moving over to employees. The original part of that, and what I'm understanding, is the service outside of usual course of business, which is kind of the conversation here. Understand we all have different styles. If I owned a tattoo shop right now and my style was just black and gray, but I have a number of clients want to come into the shop and get neo-traditional, and color, I would need another individual for that. I cannot fill those shoes. So there is an area there that could be filled with that. And I don't see that being a state issue as much, especially if everything else is in order. it would be something I'd be fighting for. But they also gave this as just passing one of 3 options out of there. So it's not mandatory on this number 2 for us here in Washington State. So, and I know it's different. Like you said, you have ABC course. There's still some shades of gray here, and it's something to employ and talk with the state about on this. James, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to just simply point at like, why would you opt for an independent contractor model at all? And it's because we're all really conditioned to be employees. It is just a part of, it's a part of education. It's a part of culture, right? We're really conditioned to be employees. And so you like take on this business, like as it's, as it's your own. I, I don't know. I guess what I'm suggesting, if we had a real culture of independent contractors, I don't think anybody would want them. That's all I'm saying. You would love to have employees. And I think maybe maybe there's something that's being talked about. Like Gabe said it, if you want people to come to your stuff, if you want them to at least feign interest in, yeah, it's I think that I think there's something there's something at the core, right, of us that's like, again, the exploitation is it's unethical the way that it's structured. Exploitation is important. We all exploit each other. It really should be in a beautiful world, it'd be really productive. But yeah, I really think that what you're saying, Derek, is really important. That the tattoo shops are really not in the spirit of independent contractorhood. So they really are in the spirit of like sort of, of having employees in name only, having independent contractors in name only, right? You're really treated like an employee, but you get all the worst. You get all the worst of both of all the worlds. So that's it.
There's exploitation, but there's also like you taking all the risk. If you're the shop owner, you're taking an immense amount of risk in doing this. So James, I'm understanding from you that you prefer the employee model in the tattoo industry. Is that correct?
I think it should be much more widely adopted. Yes, there should be the space for the independent contractor. Again, like we're saying, it's a technically specific, role. You have to fulfill all the requirements of a small business first, and then you can actually independently contractor. But that's not really the case for most of the people tattooing. I don't think that's the situation. So yeah, so it should be a lot more widely adopted as normal. And it would the risk, again, I do respect the risk that the entrepreneur is taking. But again, it's like it's a race to a certain level, and then you can really protect yourself. I mean, it's again, more inroads to financial literacy, more like economic mobility. Like I think that's what I would love to see. Flourishing of industry that benefits, right, the individual practitioners, right? You can, anyway, it would expand, I think, in really interesting ways. But yeah, it shouldn't come to this, right? But definitely some more employee models would be really important, I think, here.
It's a hard road. There isn't a baseline to it by any means. And I know here in the state of Washington, we have one shop that I'm aware of that has employees. One. I know that individual very well that owns that shop. They've expressed the difficulty in getting other artists on to become an employee of their shop. So recruiting is a whole new challenge. They don't get high caliber requests coming into their shop as well. So there's definitely it's a rough road to be there. It's not, but they're staying true to it. And they have stayed true to the employee model for many years now. It proved really successful during COVID because every single one of these people were able to get unemployment really easy. These people are on retirement accounts. There is health benefits involved with it. So there are some great positives there that I think is wonderful, but we're just not known for that in this in this industry, which is unfortunate. But that being said, we have to work with what we have. We have independent contractors there. They do have state requirements that have to be fulfilled. That's it. So if you are a shop owner, it is your responsibility to kind of map it out, but helping them as much as you can. You can help them with the checklist. You can help them with the dates. You can help them with the filing of things. There are other things that we can do to kind of help them along because we don't have the financial literacy. And there's the fear involved of like, oh my God, am I exposing myself and exposing all my money now to the IRS? Well, you're trying to be your own business owner anyways. So get on board. It's time to be an adult here and do things appropriately. So I'm an advocate for people running small business. I love small business owners and I want to see more of it. I want to see them doing it the right way because ultimately it's about their future and it's about the protection that it gives you because that's the win that a lot of people don't see. They don't understand the protection involved with having things like an LLC versus being a sole proprietorship. You have no protection with sole proprietorship. Everything you own is on the line now with the sole proprietorship. That's your best insurance policy you could possibly get, is to have the right entity. So, yeah, I think it is time to stand up, but it's like really, I know it's hard to have the conversation in New York. I'm sure very hard to have the conversation, especially with people that are aligned with that or people that have been doing a certain habit for so long. This is the way they see it. It's been working well for me. Why do I want to fix it? Well, because you not fixing it jeopardizes
no, that's
jeopardizes
normally
my
downstairs.
standing. You not fixing it jeopardizes where I'm at. If something is to blow back to me because you didn't do the things correctly, I'm now responsible for all the taxes that you may owe, all those back taxes. So that's where it comes into like how your leader role plays right now. In New York, it's like, yeah, this is it. This is the line in the sand right here. We can have a great shop, everything running smoothly here. These are the things that are required. But you have to ask yourself that. You're in for the long game. I would make it a requirement. But putting it in their court, just tell me when you're going to get it done. Just tell me when you can have this done. I've given you the checklist. Here's the phone numbers. Here's the website. Yes, it's going to take work. Why don't we do it all together? Why don't we spend some time together in the shop for 2 hours and get all this stuff done together? Hell, bring me over. I'll come over and help it. I'll help facilitate this to get that done. And making sure that the fears are dispelled, because that's the thing. There's just a lot of fear here. There's a fear based with, if I get myself out there, I'm going to be known. And I'm trying to hide still. We don't need to be an industry of hiding people anymore. We can be out there exposing what we're doing it right. And eventually over time, like when I first started paying taxes and went from tattooer to tax paying tattooer, within a few months, the money that I was spending on taxes, it was irrelevant. It didn't take away from what I was making. It didn't take away from my life. It only made me sleep better because I didn't feel like I was running away from it, or I didn't have that every April, oh fuck moment with the IRS. That went away. It gave me a peace of mind. So, and it took a few months. But then it was just part of like, this is it. It's okay. It's just like, well, we can always work with a little less. It's just in the beginning, it's just we have a fear that it's gonna change our life for the worse. And honestly, it only changed it for the best. And I can testify to that one. I can. So doing it right. Getting control of your books. That isn't just for state requirements. That's just for you to, thanks so much, James. That's just for you to get your life better financially too. Like there's more positives than this. You're looking at this as like more work, and it's not. You know, this is something that should be just standard in your life going forward. It's just part of being adult, is doing things correctly. But you may need help. When I first started doing this with Coalition and getting everything set up, in the beginning it was like challenging, it was overwhelming, and I did have to employ help on this one. Luckily, my partner is our bookkeeper and our head of human resources, and they were able to kind of check all the boxes and do all the things and see the things that I was not seeing. And so I did help. You know, maybe they just need some help. So New York, I'm willing to come over and help facilitate those that meeting. But it would just have to be on that. It's not about tangenting, it's about getting that shit done. Having the printouts ready to go. Let's do this. Believe me, you're going to feel much better in the end. And guess what? You're actually going to be a business and not somebody just, you know, in the shadows anymore. So I hope that helps. Love to help. Amanda.
So we're almost out of time, but I currently work a night job, and my two questions are, how quickly should we be buying like eco-friendly or just like supplies to avoid the tariffs, if you know that? And then the other question is, at what point, like what income do you need to worry about insurance and LLC? Because like I think there's a lot of shops that wouldn't be open if they ran as employees. Like a lot of shops just ask for booth rent and a percentage, and they have other family members who support and keep the shop open. So at least here in Utah, it's really slow and everybody wants teeny tiny tattoos. And I don't know, the business has an LLC and the business has insurance, but yeah, those are my questions.
This is actually, well, two questions I'm getting out of this one. The tariff thing, hard to say. I think we're all kind of known that we're in limbo right now. We're all in a limbo state right now. Nobody knows. Economists don't know. The tariffs are fluctuating all over the place. The administration is a fucking yo-yo right now. So I can't say when is the best time to be making your purchases. Just insight onto this. The manufacturers have all sent their letters out. We have received them all. There hasn't been huge increases in supplies as of yet. I think it's kind of a slow rollout, and I wanted to have that conversation. We should have it at some point in the near future about, you know, your pricing, where it's at, and how it could be reflective of doing a kind of a cost calculator on what you were spending last year on supplies, dividing that by 12, and then seeing what your new costs are to see where you're at, how much more money it may take you to be running business this year. But we can have I think we need a longer conversation than what we have time for right now. The LLC part of things, I'm an advocate of in having that in place, regardless of what you're making, you know, doing that accordingly. Insurances, your state could be requiring it already. You just don't know it. It's about actually reading the print and finding out what the state requires. You know, that's the responsibility of anybody who's going to run their own small business. Find out what your state requires. You know, go to the state, find out, put in an independent contractor. What does that mean? And how do I know what to check off and what needs to get done? Shop owners, yes, like I said, our industry, we don't run it correctly. And, you know, I hope we kind of get them, but there's a lot to unpack there. We've always kind of run out of time, but I do want to have more conversation on this one in the near future, if you're okay with it. I know it's a little uncomfortable for people, but I think these are the hard talks we need to have, you know, ultimately. Anybody else have any kind of words of wisdom or thoughts on this? Okay. Sorry, I know it's a lot to unpack for some of you right now. Don't get overwhelmed. Still run your business. Go out there, have fun, have tattooing, make it work. Just spend some time on the back end getting familiar with this. As James said earlier, you know, there is a financial literacy around things. There is a business literacy that's around your business. It's something that you have to be interested and curious about to get there. in the beginning it seems overwhelming, but it's not. It's
guess
not
it's-
rocket science by any means.
And
Go
do
ahead.
it. Last thing I'll say is I ended up blowing up a multi-million-dollar business because I didn't pay it, I didn't do some of these base lessons, right? Like I did other things great, but financial literacy, making sure that I was, splitting the shit up for the right ways, like all that stuff I didn't do. So, and it really it doesn't make as much of a difference when you're 3 people, but all of a sudden you're 15 people for 2 or 3 years and there's a lot of action. All of those bad habits just grow with you. So now is
Great.
the time.
It is the time, and it's great. I'm glad we all show up here because we need to have these conversations and I want to keep these going, of course. So come with questions, and Amanda, please bring this question again for another group, maybe earlier on, so we can have more conversation throughout the hour about this one. I don't want all these conversations to be easy. I'm not here to sugarcoat this shit.
Oh, we may have lost Eric, but at the perfect time. 'cause it's
Coaches
2:03.
here. I'm sorry.
I think we lost you, or I lost you.
Okay. Sorry if I froze up there. I got to go. You guys rock. Thank you so much. We'll see you next